This week's Parsha, we begin the topic of the second half of Sefer Shmot, the building of the Mishkan. And when we look at this at first glance, it's natural to wonder what relevance there is in this for us, because it's speaking about building something that is in the past. And even the Beit Mikdash version of the Mishkan, which is in the future, and we hope it'll be very soon, we're not building it right now. The Abarbanel asks this question within his discussion of the Parshios of the Mishkan. And he says we shouldn't think that learning about the Mishkan and Kachim and Tarot and Zerayim, things we don't apply today, isn't relevant to us, because the themes, the Chachma behind it, understanding the messages in our relationship with God that's embodied in all of these areas, this is very important to us. In fact, the Malbim goes even further. On Pasuk Chet, beginning of this week's Parsha, where Moshe is told to build what he saw at Har Sinai, Shem says, Kechol asher ani mareh otcha, everything I'm showing you, v'chein ta'asu. The Malbim asks, why is it formulated b'loshen rabim, v'chein ta'asu? It should be v'chein ta'aseh. And he says, Shekol echad yivne lo mikdash b'chadrei libo, ki yochin et atzmo liot mikdash la'Hashem u'ma'on l'shchinatu zo. As much as Kachim, Tarot, and Zerayim are always relevant to us, the building of the Beit Mikdash is even more poignantly relevant, because all of us need to strive to build this sanctuary to God within our own hearts. Ubilvavi Mishkan Evne. And we need to use the Mishkan, the Mikdash, as the model for developing this sanctity within ourselves, this relationship within ourselves. Famously, the Alshich points out that on the pasuk of V'yasuli Mikdash V'shachanti B'tocham, it doesn't say B'tocho, that I'll reside within the Mishkan. It says V'shachanti B'tocham, I'll reside within them. Similar form, an earlier source, on the brachot given in Parshat Bechukotai, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, "V'natati mishkani b'tochachem, v'hitalachti b'tochachem." The Mishkan is a way for God to reflexively walk and be amongst us, the Sforno explains, to be connected personally with the Jewish people. So when we read the Parshat of Mishkan, we need to look for the messages, the directives for how we can build and strengthen this relationship. I'd like to speak this week about one example of such a directive. If we look at Shmot Perek Chafei, the first Kli is, of course, the Aron. The Aron is the most important Kli. It houses the Luchot. And interestingly, the Torah mentions the placing of the Luchot Ha'edut inside the Aron twice. Pasuk Tet Zayin and Pasuk Chav Aleph. And the obvious question is, why is it mentioned twice? Rashi asks the question and says, Lo Yadati, I don't know. Lama Nechbal, why it's repeated, Charei Kfar Ne'amar v'natate el Aron et ha'edut. So whatever the answer to Rashi's question is, and Rashi suggests one, it shows you that what's inside the Aron is of supreme significance. The inside of the Aron is the most private space in the Mishkan, space nobody will ever see. Chazal, I think, building off this concept, speak about what we're meant to learn from this Kli and its most inner compartment. If we look back in Pasuk Yud Aleph, it says, "V'tzipita oto zahav tahor mibayit umichutz titzapenu." The Aron had to be fully covered with gold, both on the outside and the inside. Why would the inside be covered with gold? No one will ever see the inside. Gemara in Yoma explains that we learn from here. Rava points out, "Kol Talmid Chacham she'ein toho kibaro eino Talmid Chacham." It's not enough for a Talmid Chacham to be golden on the outside. He has to be golden on the inside, the same level of golden on the inside. His toho needs to be kibaro. In fact, Abaye continues and he says that if he's not this way, nikra nitav, there's something disgusting about someone who's not as true inside as outside. And famously, the Gemara in Brachot Chav Chet Aleph tells us that Rabbi Gamliel put guards outside the Beit Midrash to make sure that Talmidim who were not toho kibaro would not be allowed to enter into the Beit Midrash. And this obviously is a very understandable concept. Having a real relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu requires us to be true, to be holy, not just in how we act outwardly, but how we act inwardly. The Rambam in Hakotel Perek Bet speaks in very strong terms about the importance of a person to be true blue. Asur li'adam lahanig atzmo b'divrei chalako rupitui. V'lo yeh echod b'peh ve'echod b'leiv ve'latocho kibaro. It's asur for a person to act in a way that's incongruous with who they are on the inside. We need to be tocho kibaro. In fact, because of how tempting and how dangerous this is, the Rambam concludes the halacha by saying, "Va'afilu mila achat," even one word, shel pitute v'shel genevat dat, one word of deception is asur. El svat emet v'ruach nachon v'leiv tahor, mikol amal v'avot. A person needs to be true, a ready, firm, pure spirit that reflects who he really is on the inside. So yes, a person should strive to be tochel kibaro. I'd like to add one important point to all of this, and that is that if you look back at that Gemara in Bracha Daf Chavchet, the end of the story is that when Rabbi Gamliel was removed from the position of Nasi, they removed the Shomer, and hundreds of new Talmidim joined the Beit Midrash. In fact, the Gemara tells us Rabbi Gamliel felt bad that maybe he is responsible for keeping all these Talmidim out. The Gemara says he was shown in his dream white ducks full of ash to symbolize the fact that even though they were white on the outside, they were ashes on the inside. But then the Gemara says that he was shown this dream just to make him feel better, but that in truth he had kept Talmidim who could have grown and would have grown and should have grown out of the Beit Midrash. So what's the correct approach? Should we reject people who are not Tochel Gebaro, or should we welcome them into the Beit Midrash? And I think what can strengthen this question is a closer look at the Aron itself. The Aron was golden on the inside and golden on the outside. But its inside wasn't like its outsides. In between the layers of gold was wood. So how can we learn the importance of being Tochel Kibaro from a Kli that has a level of it truly inside, that's encased, that's different than its two outer sides? And I believe the answer to these questions is a very important aspect of personal growth. It's very easy for a person to justify not growing because of the fact that inside they're not yet where they need to be. But our insides depend on our outsides. And the only way we can move forward sometimes is by acting out, starting to live a way of life that we want to live and eventually internalize. Being Tochel Kibaro shouldn't stop us from striving for more, from giving ourselves the lead path that will facilitate being further along. On the one hand, we have to know that living a lifestyle that distinguishes between the inside and the outside is unacceptable. But giving ourselves a lead path and needing the time to catch up with it is not only acceptable, it's an important part of how people grow. The Aron was gold on the inside and gold on the outside, but wood in between. It could be that we ourselves have levels inside ourselves that aren't yet fully associated. But if we know inside who we want to be, and we start living that lifestyle with the realization that we need to internalize it fully and close the gap, but using our actions as a way of getting there, that's part of how we make progress in life. Those people need to be led into the Beit Midrash, and that's what we build ourselves off of when we look at the Aron. The Aron teaches us that on the one hand, we need to make sure our inside is reflective of our outside. On the other hand, we have to give ourselves a chance to move forward and catch up as we internalize. Let's all learn this and become people who can be a ma'on for the Shekhinah and a personal relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom.